Drooby Dooby Movies, Judas Cinema Closet, JT the Talking Head, Teo the Terminurdle, Zedzilla Movies, Masters of Matinee.
Pulling
You don't
audio.
really, you don't really host many of these things.
I'm sorry. Would you like to go? You go. Hold on. Let me
No,
sync.
no,
No.
I'm
You're
going.
gonna go. Hold on. Let me sync. Audio sync. Go for it, Zed. This fucking guy. How's it going, everyone? I'm JT the Talking Head. You are the audience. Welcome to Masters of Matinee. I'm with my wonderful compatriot co-host, Zedzilla Movies. Zed, how are you today?
Oh, baby, I'm not too bad, not too bad. Could be worse, for sure. Could be worse. It's almost as if I didn't have any time to prepare a question, and then sort of just thrown upon me after a 3, 2, 1, and you're live, Zed. That kind of, a little bit of stage fright, but nonetheless, I'm okay. How about yourself?
Wasn't exactly the way that played out, but I'm doing okay. Zed, we don't have a
Yeah.
game plan, so I just want to
No.
know what have you been watching? Actually, let's play this game. Let's play this game. It's the same game.
Oh, very good.
Me and you haven't played this in a while, probably since your first ever episode on the show. And that
Oh,
is the same question that I ask every person when they come on for the first time to the show. What's the last movie that you watched? And on a scale of 1 to 10, if that movie is now your real life, how fucked are you?
the last movie I watched it would fuck me pretty hard, I would think. The last movie I watched was the 2020 reimagining of The Invisible Man.
Oh,
Um, and I already don't know how I would handle if I could see the person in front of me trying to beat me up and take pictures of me while I'm sleeping in my bed. So I don't think I would fare very well. I can't run. You're not gonna run that fast. Certainly not. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty damn screwed if I had landed myself within that situation, that scenario. But it was a fantastic movie. I'm glad I'm not in that scenario. I am very, very happy to not be in that scenario. What about yourself? How screwed would you be?
the last movie that I watched, I would be unbelievably screwed because you know this last movie that I watched.
How come? How come? How come? What was the last movie you watched? Ah, Legally Blonde.
That was Teo the Terminator.
Oh, very good.
I would also be screwed in Legally Blonde too. Don't ask me about Legally, folks. I don't know what's legally
Wait,
not.
in Legally Blonde or Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde? Which one would you be screwed in?
I would be Reese without her spoon. That's screwed.
Oh, no! Oh, goodness. What was the last one you watched?
Real quick, shout out to Teo for that joke. I totally stole that. Call me Jamie Kennedy, y'all, because I'm stealing jokes up in here. Call me Carlos Mencia, y'all, because I'm stealing. Call me Amy. No, don't call me Amy Schumer. Don't fucking call me Amy Schumer. God damn it.
No,
Last
too
movie,
far.
the last movie that I watched was I'll Be Back. The Terminator. Absolutely fucked. If I'm Sarah Connor, I'm fucked. If I'm Reese, I'm fucked. If I am Arnie, I'm still fucked. I can cause a lot of destruction first, but I'm still fucked because the T-1000
Yeah.
is gonna die in he's got to die in the Terminator movies. Come on, guys. But yeah, so I watched the Terminator. Zed and I had this discussion the other day about it that got me because he watched T2. And he for the first time. We're going to talk about that
Very
in a
first
second.
time.
We're going to talk about that in a second. But he
Okay.
watched T2 for the very first time. T2, greatest action movie ever made. Um, Not arguable. Best action movie ever made. That's such a beautiful slip for that. I love that copy of T2. He watched that and we were talking about it, and he got me to want to watch Terminator 1. And I'm gonna restart the franchise. I haven't got to yet. Like I just watched the first one, but I haven't got to watch T2 again yet. But yeah, I went back and rewatched it probably for the first time since I was maybe 15, 16.
Oh,
So
really?
so probably over 10 years for sure. And what surprised me is how much of a departure T2 is from T1, because T1 is much more of a horror movie. Like
Sure.
Arnold is scary, and that the
Yeah.
T1000 is terrifying. That scene at the end with the factory is fucking horrific. Like I would be shitting my fucking pants. So yeah, I'd be absolutely screwed if my life was Terminator 1. Um Zed, how did it take you 25 years to see Terminator 2?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say it would be quite unfortunate to see my big ass time travel back completely naked. Imagine you're the bystanders who see me like enter enter the world through lightning bolts, and you're like, "Oh, is it gonna be Mr. Olympia? It's Gilgamesh, damn it. Oh my
Fucking
god."
dude, the Terminators, that would be genius. They'd be like, "All right, you're going to go back in time to kill Sarah Connor, but you do not go under any circumstances. Do not go to say I need your clothes to anybody. You just stay naked." She would drop dead of fear right then and there the second she sees Zed walking up to her
That
butt
is
ass
one of the
naked.
most crazy scenes in T2 is when Arnie arrives in the 80s, or I think it's the 80s.
90s,
And is it the 90s now? Okay.
90s.
And and I think it's 93 even, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the year that the world explodes or whatever. I don't even remember now, but when he first arrives and he shows up at that biker joint, that biker bar, and he just goes through them like paper dolls. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's a great scene. How has it taken me so long to see it? That's a good question for a lot of people that watch movies. There's always going to be movies, plural, that are going to be surprising that you've never seen. And it's just one of those, time circumstances where I wanted to give the entire 6 movie series a go, a shot all in one go, but it just never came to fruition. And I enjoyed the first one, and I was even telling JT here off mic how when they were discussing being the Terminator, and John Connor were discussing his father, I had the audacity to say, "Hey Google, who's John Connor's father?" Because I had no idea if I should know this person. And Google was like, John Connor, played, or whatever his name is, John or something Connor, played by yada yada yada, the main protagonist of the original Terminator. And I had no recollection of that character whatsoever in that movie, and he is the main protagonist. He is who is sent back to create John Connor, and I had no recollection of it. It's totally bizarre, but yeah, it's just one of those circumstances where I tried and failed even before it was like failure to entry. Like I watched the first one, was like, "Oh, that's good. What are we gonna watch next?" Land of the Lost, starring Will Ferrell.
Oh man, the Terminator franchise. Talk about a franchise that falls off, right? All those like 80s action movies, they're the ones that they franchise, Die Hard, Rambo, First Blood, the fucking like anything with Jean Claude Van Damme. I mean, even though Van Damme never really had many franchises, just him in general.
You had
I guess as
Rocky.
a Rocky. Well, okay, Rocky's I think the exception though, because like with Rocky,
Rocky comes back.
like Rocky and Rocky Two, I feel like are inseparable. You can't
Sure.
watch Rocky and then not watch Rocky 2, and vice versa. You can't watch Rocky 2 really without watching Rocky 1. The true sequel, cuz like Rocky 1 and 2 feel like one movie. Um
Sure.
Rocky 3 really does feel like the true sequel, and then Rocky 4 of course is another sequel. I think we do kind of ignore Rocky 5, although I'm not a detractor of Rocky 5. I liked Paulie's Robot. Um, have you never seen
I
Rocky
think
5?
I think it's an interesting departure just because I like the street level fighting.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting concept
Mm,
that is unexplored. Do I think it was done to its highest capability? Of course not. But then you get a movie like Creed all these years later, or not even Creed. You get Rocky Balboa after that. Rocky Balboa, even though it doesn't have a great opponent, you have one of the best Stallone speeches of all time when he's telling his son, you know, it's not how hard you can, be hit. It's how hard you can be hit and still stand back up or something of that nature. It's a very
yeah.
profound moment. And even all the stuff with Adrian, because she's now passed. Rocky has a restaurant underneath her name. It's a very profound movie in a lot of ways. It's the way back. And then you follow into Creed, which is one of Stallone's best performances. So,
I've not seen Rocky Balboa. Like, no, I have seen it, but
uh,
I was a kid. Like, I was like,
it's
I
good.
saw it when it came out. I remember I actually had a pirated disc of Rocky Balboa, and it was a cam version where somebody took a
Oh,
camera.
no.
That's the only time I've ever seen it. I need to go back and rewatch the Rocky movies now. Um, but I remember a lot of people didn't like it when it came out, and now here we are all these years later, and the sentiment that you're making here is something that I'm hearing more often is it's like people are now kind of putting the respect on that movie.
Oh,
um
really?
and yeah, like because I remember when it came out, man, like all my friend group and stuff, because we were Rocky wild, man. Like
Or
we loved especially Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is my favorite personally. um
Clubber Lang,
Clubber
baby. Come
Lang,
on
dude,
now.
Mr. T as Clubber Lang is one of the best movie villains ever. It's like, especially of the 80's, it's like
Yeah.
it's like Bruce Willis in which one was he in? Because he was great in the Bruce Lee movie. Is it Fist of Fury that he was in? Or was it Enter the Dragon?
Who?
Not Bruce Willis, shit, Chuck Norris. Chuck
Chuck
Norris.
Norris is in Enter the Dragon,
Yeah, Enter the
right?
Dragon. I think it was Enter the Dragon. And he was like the big opponent for Bruce Lee, right? He was like the It's no. I haven't seen Enter the Dragon. I haven't seen any of these. I have that Bruce Willis box set from Criterion right there. I haven't seen any of these movies since I was a fucking kid, okay? But
I believe that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the basketball player. Isn't that not who he fights in that movie? Because it's the dynamic of height. It's small but mighty and big, but yet not really that fresh when it comes to freaky fighting skills.
I don't remember. I just remember like the big fight between Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee.
Yeah, but that's not Mr. T. That's Chuck Norris. Where do you think Mr. T pops into this?
I didn't say Mr. T. I
What'd
was
you say?
I was going over what I think are some of the greatest 80's movies villains. Mr. T is one of them in Rocky 3
Yes, but how did we get into Bruce?
because
Hey,
I was going over who I think are some of the greatest 80's movies villains. The
why did you
greatest
name a movie you've never seen?
I have seen Enter the Dragon, but it was a very long time ago. The scene where Bruce Lee is fighting Chuck Norris stands out in my head a lot. Um,
Doesn't like Bruce Lee grab like a fistful of chest hair? Like it's
yeah,
some
okay,
crazy shit they
okay.
do in it. It's bonkers.
But Chuck Norris in that movie, and then Clubber Lang in Rocky 3, the T-1000 in Terminator 1. Like, these are all some of, like, Hans Gruber in Die Hard, of course. Some of the greatest
Mm,
movie villains ever, and I was saying all of that to put the point out of that's why I love Mr. T as Clubber Lang so much, because I hold him in that high regard of 80's movies villains. Like, he's on my Mount Rushmore of 80's action movie villains. He's so fucking
hell
good.
yeah.
He's
I love that your Mount Rushmore is your favorite, a movie you don't remember at all, and then that other guy.
have you ever seen, changing subjects slightly, have you ever seen did you know, first off, did you know that Mr. T is in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen his induction speech?
I don't know. It's possible. What? Why? What? What did he? What did he say?
It's the most awkward but hilarious shit ever. So later in life, Mr. T became like he might have always been like this, but he became like a hyper Christian. Like
Oh, very cool.
every aspect, like it was his identity. Every aspect of Mr. T was wrapped up in God, and there's not anything inherently wrong with that. But Mr. T, who had a killer program with Hulk Hogan back in the day, back in the 80's, but that's all he ever did in WWE. Got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame because of that program and hasn't had hardly anything to do with the Fed ever since. Gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, and these Hall of Fame speeches sometimes they can go on pretty long, like 10
Sure.
minutes. And 10 minutes for
Yeah.
for a speech is a long time. Mr. T, I shit
Absolutely.
you not, took 25 to 35 minutes reading out of a Bible, preaching to a room full of WWE professional wrestlers and their
Yeah.
colleagues and their family, talking
Yeah.
about his upbringing and how it relates to his mother and God.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
He was played off
We
because
here.
you know how at like award shows and stuff they like if you're going too long they start to play the music. Yeah. So he got the music started 5 or 6 times on him. Finally, finally, you hear
Yeah.
Kane's music pop, and Kane had to come and tell Mr. T, essentially, "Get the fuck off the stage," and made Mr. T leave. Dude, it
I
is the funniest shit ever.
I wonder what the conversation was directly after he was escorted off the stage.
Vince McMahon went to Mr. T and said, "Oh yeah, that was great, T. That was great. I'm really glad. So appreciative that you came here. I can't wait to work with you again." Then Mr. T's like, "Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I pity the fool that didn't like that speech. I pity the fool that didn't like that speech." Mr. T walks away. Vince McMahon says, "Never let that asshole back in my building again. He's fired." I guarantee you that's exactly what happened.
Has Mr. T really never been in the ring? I feel like I've seen him
No, no,
show up for like an
he was.
appearance or two.
I'm pretty sure he actually had a match with Hulk. Like I think
Was he
they legit
never in a Royal Rumble?
maybe I don't know. I don't watch really old school wrestling. I don't watch wrestling that far back, but I do believe that he did have a program. I think it was with Hulk and Andre, or it was either Hulk and Andre or Hulk and Savage. But again, I can't remember. I don't watch retro wrestling like that. Um,
Sure.
any knowledge of that, like I gained when I was a little kid watching WWE documentaries, like that I still have on my
Yeah.
shelf because physical media forever. Um, those you know I don't want to have to pay $6 a month for Peacock to watch those again.
Oh, certainly not. Why would you?
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he did have an actual match. Like he actually got
I
really involved
don't
in WWE, and it was all in promotion. I'm pretty sure for Rocky 3 because he was the big villain of Rocky 3, and Hulk
know.
played Thunderlips in the beginning of Rocky 3, which is
Yeah.
my favorite scene from any Rocky movie. The
Really?
yeah, when Rocky goes up to him, he's like, "Hey, how about me and you go get a bowl of soup after this?" And then Hulk's like, "Rah!" like just picks him up and shit. It's so funny, dude. It's fucking great. I love that scene so much. It's the best entrance to like the best opening scene for a Rocky movie I think that ever has been.
What's a really great wrestler cameo? Because I have mine. I have my favorite. Although I can't remember the character's name,
Ooh.
Big Show in Waterboy was fantastic. Like
Cap-
the Silver Tornado or
Cap-
whatever it was.
Captain Encino.
Yeah, what a fantastic character.
Yeah.
I adore that one. Do you have any other ones that you're like, I love that wrestler cameo?
You know what's funny is that All Elite Wrestling AEW actually owns the copyright and trademark for Captain Insano character. They own that.
Tell me that Paul White is going to enter the ring one night as Captain Insano.
It's fucking possible, and we've all been waiting for it because Paul White works for AEW.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so, and like I don't know, because like the game is kind of dead now, so I don't know if we're gonna get this, but Paul White's in the AEW video game Fight Forever. And we're definitely expecting a Captain Insano costume, at the very least, a Captain Insano costume for Paul White in that game. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
What a waste of money if they don't do something with it.
You listen to Tony
Yeah,
Khan? You listening?
yes. James Caan or whatever your name is. Very good.
Oh God, though. Favorite wrestler cameo.
Because you have like the one I chew bubble gum and kick ass and I'm all out of bubble gum.
That's not a
But he's
cameo though.
the
He's the
main
star.
character.
Yeah, he's the
He's the
star.
star. So like I'm trying to think of like Mick Foley not appearing in like a Kevin Smith movie somewhere. Like, for some reason, the only person I can see appearing in a Kevin Smith movie is like Mick Foley.
Probably more likely than not because Jason Mewes is a big wrestling fan.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go.
They've actually been Kevin and Jay have been like they were on like one of the first ever. I think it was the very first ever episode of AEW Dynamite. They were like in the
What?
crowd, front row, and featured. And it was like, holy shit, that's fucking Jay and Silent Bob, like at AEW.
Were they in character?
No.
Why not? Why not?
I don't.
That's like that.
They weren't. I don't think they were promoting anything at that time.
Oh, so
I think
It's
Kevin
like-
was wearing his pink salmon blazer.
oh yeah. Which you know what that's actually a really good progression in Kevin Smith post heart attack is going from the big ol' hockey jerseys to
Yeah.
the Blazers. I
Yeah.
love that departure. It gives them such a signature look from an already signature look. It's a great it looks good on him, and Kevin just looks good in general after all that nonsense, which is nice.
I tell you, one of my favorite wrestler cameos is actually another Big Show cameo. He's Santa in Jingle All the Way. He's what is
Is-
Santa SmackDown?
Oh my God, he is.
Yep.
What was Paul was just kind of getting all the stuff back then.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just from like pure size going from like Andre the Giant. Everyone wants the next big giant. So they're like, all right, Paul, you're up. You're the isn't he like wasn't he the quote unquote biggest athlete in the world or whatever? Or was that Mark Henry?
Well, Mark Henry was billed as World's Strongest Man, and that was true. He actually
Yeah.
did win a World's Strongest Man competition. So I've got a list here of cameos, wrestling cameos. Let's go through some of these and see if they spark any memories for us. Okay.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Highlander Endgame from 2000?
No, I feel like that's a part of the Highlander series though of movies. So I haven't seen any of those.
It is part of the Highlander series. I've never seen it either. But Edge was in the Adam Copeland.
Oh, okay. He's
Um,
actually Percy Jackson's dad. I believe he's playing Poseidon in the Percy Jackson series.
Yes, I believe so.
I
Hulk,
think so.
Hulk Hogan was in Muppets from Space.
Oh yes, that's a great cameo. Oh my goodness gracious! Absolutely, that's Gonzo's story of being a something.
Yeah.
It doesn't know quite what he is, but he's a something. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
This is a little bit older than I watch. You probably don't know these guys either. I mean, I know them, but I've never really watched them. In the original Highlander movie, had cameo by the Fabulous Freebirds, the High Flyers, and the Tonga Kid.
What? Who are these people?
Goldberg and Looney Tunes Back in Action.
I would have never recognized him when I was watching those movies. So I have to like rewatch it because I know what Goldberg looks like now.
You ever seen MacGruber?
Yeah.
Uh, Chris Jericho, MVP, The Great Khali, Kane, The Big Show, and Mark Henry all cameo in that movie.
Is that the who stars in that movie?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Isn't it Will Forte? I think it's Will Forte. I almost said Drillbit Taylor because that's Owen Wilson, but no. I think MacGruber is the SNL skit turned movie starring Will Forte.
Yeah,
I think.
it looks like
Uh,
Will Forte. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I now that you said that, I don't think I've seen that movie. I think I was thinking of Drillbit Taylor. I was like, hold on, let me think on that for a second.
They came out
But
around the
yeah,
same time, I believe.
probably. Yeah, probably. That was the very last movie, Drillbit Taylor, that John Hughes wrote before he passed away.
Oh,
And
really?
he wrote it under a pseudonym.
Huh.
So when you look it up, it's like, just a writer's name he used, but he was I don't what did he pass away from? I almost feel like he passed away of the same thing John Candy did, which was a heart attack. So, um
I don't know.
which they were both like very scared of heart attacks, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that they both, because they were very good friends as well, John and John, uh, that they both just happened to succumb to that. Yeah, very sad, very sad.
Um, Moving on into something not very sad. Hulk Hogan
Oh, very
again.
good.
He was very, very movie. He was trying to go Hollywood for a long time. I mean, he
Sure.
even had a character Hollywood
Hollywood
Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Gremlins 2.
Does he appear in that? Where does he appear in Gremlins 2? I must be forgetting.
I've never actually seen Gremlins 2. I've only ever seen the first one. So I don't
That's
know.
very unfortunate. I
Hey
don't know.
man,
Maybe he's in like a commercial.
I just read the list. I'm just a list guy.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Um,
We are embarrassing ourselves. We really haven't seen any of these movies.
The Big Show and Waterboy. We knew called that.
Yep. Yep.
Hogan and Rocky 3.
Yep. Very good. Very good.
Okay, here's if Hogan in Rocky 3 is not my favorite wrestler cameo, this one is. And that's Macho
Okay.
Man Randy Savage in Spider-Man 2000.
Oh my gosh. Hacksaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. I got you 3 minutes, 3 minutes of bleak time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love Bonesaw. That's what his name was.
Bonesaw.
Bonesaw.
Yeah.
Because they're putting it against their arm and they're yeah. Oh
Yeah.
God, what a great. That's
It's a
like
fantastic
a
cameo.
it's a total departure, sort of like Big Show's character in Waterboy. It's a total, departure from his actual WWE character, and he's fantastic. And he was in such great shape in 2002 still. Like he was in ridiculous shape in that scene. God.
Well,
Yeah.
he was on
I take it
steroids.
back. That's my favorite.
Macho Man was on steroids.
Oh, very cool. Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't there. I didn't
All
know.
all those guys were on the roids, man. All of them. He
Ew.
all of them. And
No
there
wonder,
was
no wonder people are just they're not really getting into these modern day wrestlers. They're just not roided out enough.
that's okay. This is off movie topic. The inner wrestling fan, modern wrestling fan, got to come out in me. There is, I doubt you know who Jim Cornette is. He was a commentator. Um, he commentated a lot of like NWA, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, like really old 80s shit. He also used to work as a writer for WWE back in
Oh,
the
very cool.
90s. Um, Cornette has a podcast, and it is like, and this guy is like a fire and brimstone preacher, but for pro wrestling. Like
Oh,
he seems to hate everything about modern pro wrestling. And one of the
oh
things that
no.
he and his fans are always like screaming about is like these guys aren't they're not big enough, they're not buff enough, they don't have the muscles and all that. They're complaining about their bodies and stuff so much. And I'm just like, they don't look like they did back in the 80s because they're not on steroids. That's literally my argument for the whole thing is like the only way that you look like they looked back in the 80s and the
Yeah.
90s is unless that you dedicate your life to weightlifting and bodybuilding, which wrestlers don't have time to dedicate to that intense to get their bodies that way. The only
Nope.
way that you get that body is if you were on roids, man. Like,
Yeah. A lot of folks seem to forget the fact that this is a traveling circus,
mm,
and it's not just the shows that you watch on air
yeah,
3 nights a week or 2 nights a week. They are touring all around the world,
yep.
constantly putting on shows, and with that sort of schedule, your next, location is uncertain. You don't know what kind of equipment the local gym's gonna have. You don't know what their hours are. You might get there at like 3 o'clock in the morning and have to quickly, do a couple pumps to get to bed to make the, 7 a.m. rise time. It's a lot, like 100%. And you can see like a really great, example of this with Triple H, who was huge, stopped doing roids, and then went to a normal, acceptable body for someone his age and of his stature and of how much time he's already been in the ring. He became more of a filled out person, not a ripped person, and people complained about it. People were like, "What's wrong with Triple H?" And it's like he's no longer on steroids.
I don't even know if H was on the roids self.
That's all I remember. There's a lot of photos I've seen, at least. I don't know either. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I've seen photos of the comparison H on roids and no longer on roids, and it's like a big departure in how chiseled and how big he was.
I know the transformation you're referring to. In the
Sure.
late '90s, early 2000s, he did get a little more not roidy. But also worried about our YouTube pushing our shit out because of how many times we've mentioned steroids in this episode. We're a couple of bad boys. But no,
Listen.
I don't know for sure, but like around that time in the '90s, there was a big steroid trial where the government was
Yeah.
cracking down on professional sports and roid use in those sports. And Vince McMahon like went to fucking trial about that. Like he got arrested and stuff and like had to stand trial about that. And it was a fucking crazy time for wrestling. And that's like one of the things that like created the Vince McMahon character because it villainized him in the media, and he had that brilliant fucking idea to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna give these people what they want. I'm gonna come out on WWE television and be Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you're fired. Join the Kiss My Ass Club and shit like that. Like he created VKM. So on, if there's one good thing that came from steroids, it was that character work. Maybe
I
not,
guess so.
maybe not all the hush money that he.
No, yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really big topic within itself, wrestling. And I would actually genuinely like to hear you do an entire episode just chatting about wrestling in some fashion or another, especially with a lot of wrestlers like Batista and like John Cena and even Edge
Jumping
branching
to,
out
yeah,
into
to Hollywood.
more
Yep.
media. I think it's an interesting conversation.
I used to run a podcast for professional wrestling called
Oh,
Bumps and Brews, where me and my buddy Kevin, we would get drunk off a beer
shout out Kev.
and hence the brews. Uh,
Yeah,
and we talk about wrestling, the bumps. And
very good.
it was obviously a take on bumps and bruises, uh, and stuff. But we would just get hammered, talk about wrestling. Our slogan was the pro wrestling podcast for for drunk pro wrestling fans by drunk pro wrestling fans.
Amen to that. That's something that Teo would support.
We got
Absolutely.
we got one episode done and uploaded.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
It's
Is
out
it
there. You can listen to
is
it
it
on
still out there?
Spotify. It is. It is available on Spotify, and on Anchor if Anchor is still a thing, and on Google
Hold on.
Podcasts.
Hold on. Yeah, let's try to keep them here for a little bit. Let's not try to send them away. Like we just got them here. Don't leave. Just stay around for a little bit longer. We'll
Don't go
very much appreciate
searching the
it.
Dead podcast. Don't do it.
Don't even think about it. We're done talking about it.
It was a fun time though. It was a fun show. Kevin and I always meant to go back and do it, but there was a bunch of personal issues that arose around the time of the show. A bunch of personal issues that uh, eventually led to me quitting drinking in general. So now, if we did go back and do it, it would be bumps and one guy drinks brews because I don't drink anymore.
And then he beats the shit out of you.
Likely.
I'm sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault. Uh, goodness gracious.
But yeah, I would dig doing a wrestling. I'll tell you what, if this gets enough likes, I'll bring Kevin on Masters of Matinee and we'll talk about wrestling movies. You guys will get to meet Kevin.
Damn. Can we beat the shit out of Kevin at the end of it?
Yes, Kevin, if you're out there listening, you're kind of a dick, but I love you, buddy.
Ah, kind of like Kevin McAllister. I know a couple Kevins that are assholes. So do you.
Inside jokes. Inside jokes. Oh
So
my gosh.
I am trying to watch more Universal Monster movies that I haven't yet. And two of those were The Invisible Man 2020 and The Wolf Man, starring Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, yada, yada, yada. The Invisible Man, I've held off on for such a long time now, purely out of fear. And it's due in large part to me being afraid I won't like them. It's why I held off on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for nearly 2 years after it was released, because I was too afraid to watch it because it was being panned. Even though The Invisible Man did really, really well, it was a lot of people's last movies before lockdown. And I was just like, what if I don't like it? Because I love The Invisible Man so much. I adore that movie, but starring Claude Rains. It's an incredible H.G. Wells adaptation. And I was afraid. And now after watching it, I'm beating myself up because I could have been a fan of this movie for nearly 4 years now. Like we're nearly at its 4-year anniversary in March. And I could have been loving this movie because it was genuinely such a great time. And then The Wolfman, there's a lot of really great parts about The Wolfman, but there's equally just as many letdowns where you're like, oh, this could have been so much better. To be honest with you, and this was a take that I was having trouble with, but the more and more I watched it, I don't think that Benicio del Toro was a good Wolfman. I don't think that he was really fit to play Larry Talbot or Lawrence Talbot. Um, I just don't. He was supposed to play Quasimodo in a live action Hunchback of Notre Dame, but that was shelved due to a bunch of this person bought that, this person's got these rights. Oh, we don't. Just a bunch of flip flop stuff was changed around, but he was supposed to, I believe, even direct the movie at one point. And he really wishes that's one of his dream roles is to play that character. And I think that he'd be a better Quasimodo because his Lawrence Talbot was just fine. like it's been out for a long time. There's two Wolfmen in the movie, and the other one's played by Anthony Hopkins. That's a really, really good Wolfman, but he's older. So you don't really believe that he's the Wolfman because when he does eventually transform, he's not really, I don't think that's Anthony Hopkins underneath all that fur. So I don't know. Like there's just a lot of stuff that could have been really good. It doesn't too much spread into potentially starting a new universe. A lot of folks try to say it's one of those movies that was like a failed restart of their cinematic universe, sort of like Van Helsing. The only thing about The Wolfman is at the very end of it, it sets up what came before The Wolfman originally, the original Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman. There was a werewolf movie by Universal called Werewolf of London that did not do very well. That's essentially what the end of The Wolfman was setting up, was a Werewolf of London. I always get that mixed up with an American Werewolf in London, but yeah, it's good to an extent. We've all seen the clip by now, I think, when Benicio del Toro changes, like for the first time, really like changes in front of that group of doctors in that big auditorium, and it's really, really cool, but it is a lot of CGI and not really. 'Cause Rick Baker was the makeup guy on that film, and he also did the American Werewolf in London effects. And although the costume and makeup looks good, the transformation was all done digitally, and it's okay, but it's no like transformation like you see in those movies where it's slowly being layered on the actor and they're lining them up and then go. So,
I have a confession.
uh-oh.
I have seen Wolfman 2010. But I haven't seen it since 2010 when it came out on DVD.
Oh,
I do remember it. I also remember not liking it because I was such a big fan of the Lon Chaney Jr. one, and it was so different. Um, I've never seen The Invisible Man 2020, and I've never seen the original Claude Rains Invisible Man.
how how come?
I just never. It was one of those that never really as far as Universal monsters go. My watching has mostly featured. I know. I see. I have it on 4K. I just got it for Christmas. I got it in the 4 pack 4K. Yeah, I love the Wolfman. That's my favorite. You guys can see back here. He's in my Luke's Diner mug. Taylor the Terminal brought me back that Wolfman plushie from Universal Studios. Um,
Oh,
and the I'm going to go watch Invisible Man soon, because the other three movies that are in that Universal box set are Wolfman, seen it a million times, Dracula, seen it, Frankenstein, seen it, and Invisible Man. It's the only one that I haven't seen. It's the biggest reason that I asked for that box set, because I own all the others on DVD, and I wasn't huge on I need to upgrade these right the fuck now. But I was like, I want to see Invisible Man. I know that he's one of your favorites.
a little bit, just a little bit. I
So
love
I
him.
I do want to see it. Um Spoiler alert, we're going to do, me and Zed here soon. We've talked about it. I need to watch more of these movies. We're going to do an episode on Universal Monsters coming in the future. I don't know when, but it will be coming in the future. But and yeah, I need to watch more of the monster movies. I'm gonna
Just
rewatch what all's in that
watch the
what all's in that set.
what Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy. That would be the Invisible Man, the Bride, the Wolfman, Phantom of the Opera, which is the Claude Rains remake in color, and Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh
The
no.
original Phantom of the Opera is a silent film starring Lon Chaney, the father of Lon Chaney Jr., who is the Wolfman. But a lot of people like to do the Claude Rains movie because it was a remake that was in color and sound.
I just realized something. I fucked up. The Universal Monsters box set that I have does not have the Invisible Man in it. It has the Mummy in it. So
I was gonna ask you because I know which one you have, and the Invisible Man is not on the cover.
yeah, no, it's got
I think they've always planned on doing a companion
they
to
did.
that one, but
They did.
never they did do it.
They have volume 2. It's got Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Bride of Frankenstein, and Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm
all these
not
movies
yeah,
could be yours.
yeah. I just need to get volume 2. I probably won't be able to get volume 2 until this coming Black Friday, because that's probably when it'll go on a decent enough sale, because that those fucking sets are like $100, Zed.
Yeah,
Like they went on sale, like the volume 1 went on sale for like 30, a huge
yeah,
sale. It usually does stay around 70, but it went on a huge sale for like 30, $35 over the holidays, and I got that for Christmas. My beautiful wife, hi Desi, she bought that for me for Christmas. It comes with Drac, Frank, Wolfie, and the Mummy. And I haven't seen the Mummy either, actually. So I will watch the Mummy. Um, and I'll take a trip to Peacock to watch the rest, so we can do our
yeah.
episode.
You gotta. I would love to discuss these movies. They're really short watches. They're really
Yeah,
short watches,
they're all like just a
and
little over an hour a piece, right?
yeah, I mean, you might have ones that roll into an hour 20, but they're fairly short watches, and they're all so good in their own ways. And there and then there's the other ones too, like Dracula Untold, Van
I've seen
Helsing.
Okay, I've seen some of the newer ones. I've seen some of the ones from the 80's and some of the newer ones from the 90's and the 2000s. I've seen American Werewolf in London. It's my favorite Universal monster movie. I've seen The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, all three of them
Yep,
plus the two Scorpion King movies they did.
interesting.
I've seen Dracula Untold. Dracula Untold, super fucking underrated. That was a great movie. I went to see that in theaters with my stepdad. That was such a cool movie. I need to rewatch it because I haven't seen it since its theatrical run. So I'm gonna go get that as well, and watch that. I've seen Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, of course. Grew up on that movie. That movie's so good too. For
It's
those
really fun.
early 2000 movies, like about monsters, like the Underworld movies, the Resident Evil movies, the ones that have that 2000s like sheen all over them, like you can tell that it was like made during that transition period from film to digital. Like it's the end of film's life before everything really went digital. And it's like, but they're still shot on film, but they look good with modern effect, or like modern then effects. Like those movies are so fucking magic. I love those movies. Van Helsing, I know you don't give a shit. Van Helsing just got a 4K recently, a few months ago. I need to get that for sure.
What's a 4K? I actually have a 4K in my player right now. I haven't finished it yet, which is why I didn't discuss it, as my most recent watch, but I am watching. There's a 4K in my player. Um, there's also just adaptations of these classics that I love as well, like I Frankenstein, starring uh, Aaron Eckhart, is amazing. I love that story too. It's super interesting and weird and fun. You also have Victor Frankenstein, starring Daniel Radcliffe as Igor and James McAvoy as Victor. There are so many really cool movies out there that I love. Last year we got Renfield and The Last Voyage of the Demeter,
Yep.
and then a Frankenstein. Those are both Universal movies, both Renfield and The Last Voyage. But then we had a Frankenstein adaptation called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster that was awesome as well. There is so much. And then this year alone, we're getting a bunch. Like, not only are we getting movies going into production like The Wolfman and The Bride of Frankenstein, but uh, we're getting Lisa Frankenstein starring Catherine Newton and Abigail,
I
which,
saw your trailer reaction for Abigail, and you know me, I don't watch trailers, but I will watch a Zedzilla trailer reaction on TikTok. Shout out to Zed's TikTok
oh
channel.
my
Um,
god.
because when I watch Zed's reactions to these trailers, he gets me hype. I'm not the kind of person that really gets hype about a trailer, but you always like point out things about the trailer that I'm like, oh, that's a really cool detail that I would have fucking missed the first time I watched a trailer. I watched your reaction to Abigail and I was like, holy fucking shit, this movie looks wild. I am so down. It will be a theatrical C for me for sure. I'm so excited for that now.
Did you stay tuned for
Yes.
my theory?
Yes.
Apparently, I am correct.
Ooh. We're not gonna say
Apparently,
his theory here.
No.
For two reasons. One, we don't spoil stuff on Masters or theorize about possible spoilers like that. But two, so if you do want to see it, go follow Zedzilla on TikTok, Zedzilla Movies, and watch his trailer reaction to hear his theory that apparently is correct. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Apparently. I don't know for certain because I refuse to actually go out and find it. If I accidentally get spoiled to it, say la vie, but I'm not actively looking for it. But I've been told I am apparently right, which is cool, which is it, how fucking cool. That
Yes.
movie is going to be a lot of fun. But there's other stuff like Maggie Gyllenhaal, the elder sister of Jake Gyllenhaal, is doing her Bride of Frankenstein movie,
Dude,
which
such
is
an
her directorial
underrated
debut.
such an underrated person right there. I've only ever seen, I mean, I've seen a few movies with her, but like the biggest movie that I've seen with her is Donnie Darko, where she starred alongside Jake. Have you ever seen Donnie
Yeah,
Darko?
yeah, she did. Oh,
That's
yeah,
such a good
I've
movie.
seen it. It's
Such
oh
a
yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie. I've watched it.
And that's all the
Um,
time we have. That's all the time we have, folks. If you enjoy this, oh, that's a good
but
movie, man.
but, the, but there's even stuff in monster movies that a little bit of change ups. Like for instance, Guillermo del Toro is directing a Frankenstein movie, which is starting his own monster movie franchise. Starting off with The Shape of Water, which is his own adaptation of Creature from the Black Lagoon, and now he's doing his own Frankenstein, which was going to star Andrew Garfield as the monster, but he unfortunately had to drop out due to other projects. And he was just recently replaced by one of the main leads of Euphoria. I'm not really familiar with the guy's work at all, other than I know what he looks like. But then you even have like what's it called? Brain fart's happening. Oh my god, it's happening. Ryan Gosling is out as the Wolfman.
Oh man,
Ryan Gosling was going to be Blumhouse's Wolfman to sort of be a part of this Invisible Man, Renfield sort of wave of movies. And he has been announced for the better half of a year or two. And it was recently announced either at the tail end of last year, at the beginning of this year, that he's out as the Wolfman. I thought he would have made a really great Talbot, especially with he has just some of my favorite movies with Drive and the other guys, and even recently with Barbie.
Barbie.
He's just such a fun person to watch,
Barbie was
and
fantastic.
so it's unfortunate they did bring in another guy. He has been already replaced, but I would be lying if I said I remember his name. I don't. He was somebody I was unfamiliar with. But there's a lot. Monsters are back, baby, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Before we
And Godzilla.
go, oh my god, the new Godzilla is going to be Godzilla -1, guys. Come on, fucking Zed
Which is
hasn't
getting a
seen
black and white. It's
really.
getting a black and white. Yeah, it's getting a black and white version. Me and Judy already said that when we watch them, we're gonna watch them back to back, color then black and white.
Might be the way to do it, dude. I went to see -1 in theaters. I know you haven't seen it yet. I think
Yeah,
did I
whatever.
explain that I got to see it in RPX?
Yeah, I'm looking over here now. I'm just gonna
I'm not
kind
gonna
of ignore you.
spoil. I'm not gonna spoil anything.
I know. You did tell
Um,
me, and
yeah,
it's
if you
I'm
guys
jealous.
for a huge movie, if you like when the new Godzilla, uh, the new Warner Brothers Godzilla movie comes out,
God, it's not Warner Brothers. I keep on
Sony
telling you this is Legendary Pictures.
Legendary Pictures. Oh yeah, but it's like, isn't it bankrolled? Isn't it produced by Warner Brothers?
I mean, who knows these days? It's called Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. It's a Legendary Picture MonsterVerse movie. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You guys got to support it because we need a season 2 of Monarch Legacy.
I need to watch Monarch for sure. But if you can see this, if you can go to a Regal theater and see this movie in the Regal premium experience, or no, ScreenX, it's called ScreenX, where they have the screens on the side, dude, seeing a Godzilla movie in a 270-degree viewing angle is fucking incredible. Go watch that. Before we go, Zed, going back to the Universal Monsters real quick. We're gonna talk about this briefly and then we're gonna wrap up. What are some of your favorite retellings of these Universal Monster movies? I have two in mind, but I want to hear from you first.
Some of my favorite retellings?
Mhm.
Oh, that's I mean, I think I named a lot of them.
You
I
did.
really love what did you do that for?
I was scratching my face.
Oh, I just looked like you flipped me off for a quick second. I would say, Frankenweenie is one of the greatest uh all-encompassing because it really shares love across the entire Universal Monster platform franchise. And it also pays homage to other things like the creature from the Black Lagoon creatures are also gremlins. So they share like a thing where they are still creatures of the water, but they are sea monkeys that when they get introduced to water, they become giant monsters or like whatever. And then instead of Godzilla, it's that giant like Gamera kind of thing. It's a turtle that then becomes a giant Godzilla like monster. So they share certain monster relatives while also paying homage to Frankenweenie being Sparky is the character's name, but the dog is Frankenstein, and then the neighbor's dog is the bride, and then one kid's hamster is the mummy, and so on and so forth. It's a lot of fun. So that's another really big one that I adore. And even, you know what? Oh, that's an original. I was gonna say, I was gonna call out Werewolf of London. That's a fun one because it's about a botanist who comes across the lycanthrope, like the not lycanthrope, it's the flower. Can't remember what it's called, but there's a Surrey like
Wolfsbane.
wolfsbane. And there's this flower that interacts with the moon and you know it cycles, you know, once it hits a full moon, it's a fun one. But when it comes to monster like the adaptations, I would say that I love stuff like Frankenweenie. I love Dracula Untold. I love Hotel Transylvania. There's a bunch of really great modern interpretations of these monster movies. What about you?
So my two favorite reinterpretations, reimaginings, if you will.
I I feel like I know one of them.
Take a guess.
Monster Squad?
Oh, I've actually never seen
It's a
Monster
great
Squad.
one. Monster Squad has the greatest creature from the Black Lagoon, Gillman, that I've ever seen. That Gillman looks incredible. The other monsters, like the Wolfman, looks a bit goofy. Dracula just looks like the dude walking around Universal Studios. But there's something special about that Gillman. Mwah. Oh, Munsters. Fuck.
Monsters is
And
is
Adam's
is one, of
family is
course.
kind of a little bit adjacent, but the
Yeah,
Munsters are literally a werewolf, a vampire, and
yeah. So
a
I'm strictly
Frankenstein
talking
monster.
movies, but if we're
Okay.
including TV shows, Monsters is my all-time favorite. I love the Monsters IP so dearly. Um, but strictly talking movies, real quick, honorable mention shout out to Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
Such good fucking underrated. Under even for
They're
4 sequels or 3 sequels, 4 movies, still
they're great.
underrated. They don't get the
They're
flowers they
fun.
deserve. Some of
Yeah.
Adam Sandler's best modern work is in voice acting in Hotel Transylvania and playing Dracula. That is
Yeah.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
But my 2 favorite reimaginings are actually both reimaginings of Frankenstein. The first, Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, Young Frankenstein.
Oh, Young Frankenstein. That's another one of mine.
That transcends the theming of Universal Monsters for me. That is one of my favorite films of all time. I think
Yeah.
it's Mel Brooks' best movie, hands down. It's better than Blazing
Yeah.
Saddles. It's better than Spaceballs. It's better than History of the
Yeah.
World Part One or Two. It's such a good movie.
I agree.
It's honestly a 5 out of 5. I don't think that movie does anything wrong because of every homage that it pays to the Universal Monsterverse, as well as
No.
the writing and the comedic delivery of Gene Wilder and all of his surrounding cast. And what's his name as the monster? He played the dad, and Everybody Loves Raymond.
I
Uh,
know. I'm sitting here trying to remember his name as well, but it's escaping me.
is it Peter O'Toole? Is that it? Hold on, I don't think so. I'm
I
gonna
don't know if
look it
that's.
up.
I mean, that name sounds familiar, but not for that character, not for that actor.
I think it's like O something.
Uh,
Uh, no, not O, but it is a Peter. It's Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle.
Yep.
Okay, okay, okay.
Peter Boyle as the monster is one of my favorite uh renditions of the monster. I love Young Frankenstein. And
I
number
agree with
two
you.
is one you may not have seen, and it's May.
Oh
Have you seen May?
no, what's that?
I'm gonna look up the cover art for it. Um because it's a very iconic cover art showing showing the audience first, then Zed.
Over, over, othered way. No.
So May is this crazy movie about a lonely girl who has a lazy eye, and like the slogan, the tagline is if you can't find friends, make one. And it's a
Oh,
serial killer movie. You probably wouldn't like it because it's very gory. But it's like a serial killer movie, and she makes a monster. She is essentially Dr. Frankenstein.
yeah.
It's not a direct retelling of the story, but it is a spiritual retelling in the same along the same lines of the Frankenstein story by Mary Shelley. It's one of my favorite reimaginings. It's so original and so unique. Um, what's that one that you mentioned before the other the Frankenstein? Um, a girl and her monster or whatever.
Oh, an angry black girl and her
Yeah.
monster.
It when I saw the trailer for that, because I haven't seen it yet, but it kind of reminded me of a little bit.
And what's really cool about the angry black girl and her monster is that it ties in other universal monsters, other classic monsters in a very tasteful way. The main leads of the movie are all African American, and being that the mummy is another really big universal monster project, Egypt is in, you guessed it, Africa. The African god Imhotep, who is like one of the gods of the afterlife and whatever, is the main character. That's who Boris Karloff plays in the mummy, is Imhotep. And they mention Imhotep in the movie as a part of her research about, because essentially what the main character Victoria thinks is that death is a disease that can be cured. And that's the sort of basis of it all. So she has plenty of different studyings. And I believe even at one point, she's looking at like botany books, and wolfsbane is talked about. It's
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. Like there's subtle little hints of other stuff. Not that they're trying to build out in any direction. They're just paying homage to the movies that inspired them.
Nice. Well, I
Yeah.
will definitely check that one out, and you should go check out May. I think that you would like the story, but hate the gore.
I don't know, man. I just from seeing the cover of that, you're like, this is so iconic. That gives me nightmares.
That was a movie, and I have a review of this on my YouTube channel. That was a movie that I saw the cover art of going to the video store. It was
I'm sorry.
plastered all over the video store, and I always wanted to rent it, but it was rated R, and I couldn't because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But so and then Second Sight, going back to stuff that Zed doesn't give a shit about. Second Sight Films in the UK has released an amazing Blu-ray box set of that movie. You guys should absolutely go check it out online. It's freaking amazing movie. All right, Zed, put the movie down so we can do our outro.
Oh, oh, very good, very good, very good.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the incoherent rambles of the disenfranchised masters of matinee. We love and appreciate you very much. Say goodnight, Zed.
Good night, Zed.
Now for something completely different. Masters. 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 The Matinee. Masters of Matinee. Starring Droopy's Doopies Movies, Judas Cinema Closet, JT the Talking Head, Taya the Terminator, and Zedzilla Movies. Masters of Matinee.
Mic check, Mike. Zed, mic check.
Hey folks, I'm Zed, and I never drive with a DUI, but I do drive with a UTI.